Hey guys, welcome back to our next video. Now this video is a continuous video about hacking web application bug bounty hunting because it's kind of the same, and we're not talking here only about Instagram. And as I said before, Instagram is a web application, it has mobile application and even desktop application, so bugs can occur in any of these three separate versions. So now in this video we're gonna cover the web application one. We're gonna speak general about bug bounty, how it is done, why burp is so important. I'm gonna show you guys how to install burp on Windows. You see here I'm on my Windows 7 machine, my main one. And then we're gonna go in details about how burp works, why it's so important, and why, if you can, should buy the paid version. So burp is basically a proxy that stops our requests upon sending and receiving. So what I mean by that, we can modify the proxy, we can modify the user agent, we can modify the parameters, the cookies using burp. Basically we are getting the raw data of the proxy, of the request, sorry, and it's proxied to burp. So it's starting up its own service, and upon proper configuration, any request made by the browser can be forced to burp instead of the server directly. So that's by theory, and now I'm trying to first download, explain something, and then try to paint a graph to get you a better idea about how it is working. So to download and install burp, you're gonna of course need a browser. So I'm gonna use Firefox. So Firefox, go to Google, let's say. No, I don't want to be my default one, and type burp download. I mistyped that. Yeah, okay. So this is the official site of Burp Suite, Portswigger, and /burp/community download. So basically the community is the free version. So the burp comes with the paid version and a free version, but I highly recommend the paid one. So if you don't want to stick with the paid one, here's how you can install the basic Windows free community edition of burp. Click the button here, save the file. You see the current version is 1.7.36. This is the newest one. Latest stable, it said. So this tool is basically a must to have in your arsenal. And this tool, the free version is coming pre-installed with Kali or Parrot OS, or even Black Arch Linux. So if you put any of these Linux distributions, you're gonna have burp installed by running apt-get update and upgrade. You're gonna update and upgrade these tools. So yeah, but on Windows the things do not work that way. There are no such repositories, and most of the things are paid from Microsoft Store. So yeah, open the file now. Just click run. And now it's installing. Keep in mind that this tool is based on Java, and if you get something like an error, it can be because you did not install Java or you did not set the environmental variables. So I hope I get the error now, so I'm gonna show you exactly the procedure to fix the error. But if you don't get the error, I'm gonna show it to you anyway. So choose the directory, require space, 200 megabytes, next. Next, create shortcut to all users, next. Now click finish. Okay, so Burp Community Edition. Start that. I accept. Next. Next. Okay, so my Java is working. This tool is based on Java, and I just want to show you how to download and install Java by yourself. So you're gonna close that for a second, or just minimize that, let's say. And now go there and open Java download. This is in case you get an error, because this tool is based on Java, and if you did not install Java virtual machine or set up the variables, you're gonna get an error. So download Java, agree. This is Java 8, of course. You're gonna stick with the latest one. So I download Java 8. Let's say Java 11 download. Okay. Now just Windows, depends on your architecture, click here, and the download is gonna start. And after this file is being downloaded, just execute the file and install it in just the same way, next. Therefore, you're gonna need to open your PC, navigate where the Java is. So in my case, I think it's in program files, Java, JDK 11 you see here. Then go to bin and search for file Java C. So Java C. Yeah, so we have the Java C right here. So under that directory, I need just to basically copy the directory, go to my desktop, right click to this PC properties, then go to advanced system settings, environmental variables, path, go to edit, click new and type the directory right here. And so you can execute Java C, Java in your command line. So how you should know that it's ready? You can do that check by basically opening a command line. It can be PowerShell or command prompt and type Java or Java C or Java version. So you see my one is 11. So if you don't get that Java, if you get an error by typing Java, but not the options that you can go for, this means that you most likely have an error. So yeah, that's how you install Java. After you do that, just reboot your machine and you should be fine. And there's a chance that you can get an error by opening burp with Java 11, but don't worry, it's okay. On Linux this error occurs oftenly, but on Windows seems like everything's okay. But if you get a warning about new Java version, do not worry, it's working just as fine. Okay, so this is our application. This is Burp Suite. See, this is the interface of the application. So I said before that Burp is working basically as a proxy server. So what I mean by that, it's proxying our requests. Let's say the real proxy is basically when our request is being transmitted to multiple locations. Let's just search for proxy in Google, proxy servers. Go to images to get a better idea about what's happening. So yeah, let's take for example this picture. So basically you have your machine, you have some proxy server, and you have the internet. So these are the other servers. So we have the server of Facebook here, or Twitter for example, and so on. So without sending direct request to that server, we are transmitting our request to proxy server, which can change our IP, make two-node connection and so on. But it can be only just a proxy, just to pinpoint our request from our machine to the server. So you see, it's not directly transmitted, but it's like there is something in the middle, and our request, everything goes from there. So this is the idea of proxy server. So Burp is working as a proxy server, and we need to configure the server. But let me just draw some graph really fast to get a better idea what's going on. So I'm going to open a PowerPoint. I'm going to start new presentation. Close that as well. So here now I'm going to copy a few images. So the first one is basically our machine. So this is us, right? So this is our machine. It can be phone, it can be, just in that case it's our hacker machine, because we are hacking the application. So this is our hacker machine. This is us. So we have the server, which is right here. So basically, yep, so we have the server right here. So let's say this, for example, Instagram, Google, Facebook, any server you want. And then basically we're gonna need a burp suite. So basically this is our burp proxy. It's standing on the same machine, it's standing right here, but it's basically working as a proxy server, and I'm gonna explain now in details what's happening. So in a normal communication, we are transmitting packets just like that. So from here to, let's say, from here to here. So we are transmitting packets to the server, and the server replies back to us. So this is how we transmit packets in a normal environment without any kind of proxy. So you saw in the picture before that if we have proxy, our packets are not transmitted to the server directly, but are going through some kind of a server. So this server is in the middle and is accepting our requests and responding to our requests. So this is what burp is doing. So instead of directly transmitting to the server, we are transmitting to burp suite. And then burp is basically transmitting the server, our request to the server. And of course the server is transmitting the request to burp, and the burp is transmitting the request to us. So that's how it's working and it's doing. So we have our packets right here. Packets can be just browsing the web, like when I type google.com, I'm sending a get method to request something from that server. So the fundamentals of web servers are basically really easy and easy to understand. You have like a huge physical server like that, like with a lot of hard drives and so on. And therefore on that huge server we have our web server, let's say Apache. And this Apache is hosting some files to the web, right? So basically we have some files stored in that web server, and if that files are not some HTML, CSS or some programming files, these files are not displayed, they can be just downloaded. Let's say if we put pictures there, we can browse and download our pictures, right? So basically you can do an experiment with yourself. You can go ahead, if you have Python of course. On Windows the command is python m http.server and specify the port. So first I'm gonna navigate to desktop, so cd desktop, and now bring that command up. Now I'm gonna basically see my IP address, open Firefox and specify the port 8000. So if everything's okay, I basically should see my content of the desktop, because I have hosted a Apache server, Python server, sorry, on port 8000. So basically these contents of the desktop are being transmitted to the web through that port. So I'm hosting a web server now. And basically what I'm trying to say is we have our web server here, and the very thing we do with that web server is just requesting to get or post some information. Let's say when we are browsing some content, and if we go, let's say Instagram, click here, we are basically asking the server, hey, get the content of your web server to me. So if there are any security checks, you should pass them in order to get that content, but in that case they are not. So basically, see, I'm throwing the request at the Instagram server saying, hey, I need to get your main page, give it to me. And the Instagram says, okay, here it is. So now if I try to make a register, I am posting information inside, because I'm typing username, I type in full name, password, email. So I am updating the database of that web server right here. So keep that in mind. We have our web server, and the two main methods of the web server are either posting or getting. Let's say HTTP methods. Open that. Our web server is somehow down. I think that is correct. I think it might be a firewall issue, so firewall. Yeah, it's a firewall issue. I need just to open a port 8000. So I don't need the notifications. Advanced settings maybe. Yeah. So inbound rules, new rule, port 8000. Next. Allow the connection. Yes. Name Python HTTP server. Click finish. Alright, so now let's try with Python HTTP server. Specify the port. Okay, and let's try now with localhost, since I think I have mistyped the IP address, so localhost. Yeah, okay, nice. So directory listing for root. So root means our root of web server, from where our web server is starting. So our web server cannot see any information besides that desktop. So it cannot browse this, since I hosted that web server in my desktop. So basically, the only thing can he see, or the users who uses the web server, is our desktop and all the folders that are stored in my desktop and all the subfolders of them and so on. So you see right here, let's take an example. This is our web server. So we have physical machines, and this physical machine is hosting a server. So if the content here, as you can see here, we have different content, we have different files, we have like different desktop icons and so on, and folders. So if the content is not some HTML files or CSS files and so on, they have been displayed like that, so they can be just downloaded and so on. But if the content of our root directory contains index.html file, this means the starting file of any web application. So index.html is the root of web files. So it has that files. That means that it's now a website or a web application, and besides displaying all the files, it starts showing some files. Because let's say, for example, in Instagram we have the same thing. We have different directories, different files, but these files are HTML codes, PHP codes, or no matter what Instagram is called. So we have all the front end and all the back end as files, but besides of listing the files for download, the web server is displaying these files. So keep in mind that all these files are just one huge HTML and CSS files, all the front end, and any changes made are instantly reflected to the application. So that's how the web servers are working. They are just hosting the files. If the files are not in like HTML, CSS, the files are being displayed for download like that. But if there are CSS and HTML files, this means a front end. So we have a website, they are displayed instead of prompted with the download. Because if we click here, let's say to all in, and click here, see, I can download the file, right? But if the files are HTML and CSS, we can simply go there and browse and display the files and work with the website or web application. So of course you can use web server for easy data transport. See, it's kind of easy, just navigate the IP and download. But now this is a topic for another video. So I'm just gonna close that for now, close that as well, and exit. Okay, so here I don't need that anymore, so I'm gonna delete that rule to keep my machine secured. Allow Postgres. Okay, so everything's okay. Close that as well. Okay, so now we know that we have web server. We've explained the basics of the web servers, how they work. We have our machine and we have burp. Now we are skipping the burp for a second. We don't need that for now. We're explaining some fundamentals about web servers. So when our machine is connecting to web server, no matter by proxy or by normal connection, direct connection, it is asking for something. So basically our machine is like this: hey, I want to get your and display to my machine your index.html file. And the server says, okay, here it is, and the browser displays index.html files. You can think like a browser of a browser like a web interpreter, because the difference between the compiler and the interpreter is that the compiler needs first all the source code, compile it, and it creates an executable, and you can run this executable how many times you want. But the interpreter is not compiling anything, it just follows what is written there, follows the instructions, and executes them on runtime. So I think the web browsers are something like interpreters for HTML. So they are getting the HTML code and they are executing the HTML and CSS code by row when they see, immediately when they see it. They do not compile anything, they do not create any executable. So when you get and navigate some directories, let's say Google, you are indexing that index.html page of Google, and as you can see, you are no exe files are generated. You have just, your browser is rendering what is written in the index.html file with all the functionality, with anything. So that's why I like to call the browsers web interpreters, because they interpret anything that's written on runtime. They do not compile anything and they are working fast. So here we are asking, hey, I want to get your index.html page displayed to me, and the web server says, okay, here it is. So it's getting his index.html page, so we displayed his index.html page. It's same thing with Facebook. Let's open Facebook. Now by clicking here, by clicking with the mouse, my browser, my machine is sending a request to the Facebook server and it's saying, hey, please give me your index.html page. And Facebook in that case says, okay, here it is. So now this is a perfect example for get method. We are getting information, we are getting the pages from the web server, but nothing is changed there. So nothing really changes. But in the very moment we start posting something inside, so now we're getting the home page, but it's asking us for email or password or to sign up. So we are posting information, we are changing a record in that server. So by authenticating to your Facebook account, you're gonna say, hey, here, it's me on that machine, on that IP, on having that cookies, it's me, this is my account. So I want more, and I'm posting my information in you. So you are posting information database when it's getting checked that it's you. So see, by clicking here, by refreshing the page, we are getting again the same method. We are using get method because we did not post and change anything in the Facebook. We did not trigger any functionality whatsoever. And by functionality, I don't mean a front-end technology, I mean a backend, because if I type an email and a password, it's gonna send a request to the database. This request is gonna be transmitted and calculated, and it's gonna return with the code. So this code can be successful, not successful, we're gonna get an error and so on. So if I type ASD and type login, by clicking login I'm sending a post request because I'm gonna say, hey, I'm posting that in your database that this is me, so put me in, log me in my account. So login, and see the password you've entered is incorrect. So we've sent the request to a database, the database calculated the request and bring us back with that your password is incorrect. So this is a typical example for post method. Another post method is when, for example, we are uploading image. We are posting something into that database. We are saying, hey, see, get that image and post it in your server. So it's now on the server. So another example of post methods is a comment. So we are commenting something. So, hey, get that string, because the comment is just a string, right? It's nothing more. It's just a string. So the comment means, hey, get that string and post it there. It's standing on your server on that post. Post it there. It's my string. Let it stay there. So that means of posting something to the server. picture, command, string, parameter, which we're gonna talk a little bit after that. So most of the exploits and vulnerabilities and web hacking are through post methods. So basically, with get methods, we cannot really do much because, or if we can, it's harder because we are just getting the information. We are getting something from the web server. We did not modify anything. Most of the serious attacks are through post methods. So here we have different methods. You see get, post, head, delete, connect, so on. But the main one which are used are get and post methods. And there is one more thing I want to mention before we go into burp and into some real talks is HTTP codes. So these codes are made for programmers and for hackers to understand what's happening with the application. So let's just try that. So see, we have some categories about different code that can return from our request. So once getting a request, we are return something, and that something is returned with a code. This code is basically showing what is going on with our request and our session with that server. So for example, we have 200 OK. So this means everything is alright. The request is sent, the request received, no errors found, everything is alright. We have the request starting with 1xx, which means can be 100, 101, and so on. We have 100 continue, switching protocols. So these codes are for information. So see, the graph here shows anything. We have the 300 codes which are for redirections. So we see all the codes here, move permanently, found. So this is huge. By brute forcing and deep busting technologies are working to find that code right here. So what they do is they sending a lot of packets to different directories and to different files, and if they get a 300 code, that means the file or directory is being found, is being okay, because they sent the request and the request came back with code 302, which means, hey, we have that there, we found that. And we have other codes, let's say for client error, bad request, forbidden. You can go there, click here, inspect any single code. But of course, don't get too in depth because you see Google has anything. I'm always saying that you have to use your mind and brain as a processor, not as a hard drive. You don't need to remember all of these codes. You need to know how to find them when you need. So here, but the main one, of course, they are easy to remember. But the main ones are 302, 200 OK, and that's it. Yeah, and some client errors. And then we have with the 5xx, we have the server errors. So you see now, by generating codes, we can know what is happening with the application. So what is going on? Is it everything okay? Is it not? Why? Is it my mistake? Is it server mistake? Is it a redirect? And so on. So these codes are important. And believe me, any request sent, any request sent comes back with a code. No matter if it was successful or not, if the request comes back, it's with some kind of a code that can show us what is happening. So now I want to mention one more thing, and this is basically the user agent. So here, user agent. So basically the user agent is that thing which identifies our browser to the web server. So upon sending packets, we are sending information about us, and you're gonna see that when we're gonna start working with the burp. So whenever we send a packet, we send information about us, about our user agent. So what browsers are we using? What by exploiting that user agent, multiple vulnerabilities and bugs can occur. Let's say if you run Tor browser and connecting to Tor, this is not a coincidence that Tor is asking you to use different shapes of your browser, not maximize one. Let's say you can use shapes like that, like that, like that. Because if you use a maximized, by using the user agents, some people can basically see and extract information about your monitor, about your resolution, and therefore about your PC. So user agent is a huge thing. There are exploits and bugs about user agents, and this is basically how your browser is being represented itself to the web servers, how it's acquaintance to the web server. See, when we send the request, we say, that's the request, that's the parameters, I am with that user agent. So for example, I'm using Firefox, send that, I want that. This is the very simple communication. And of course, all communication, especially that, is based on client-server technology. So the server is standing there, right here. The server is just standing, waiting for a connection. Our machine is connecting and saying, see, I am that, I am using that user agent. So these are my parameters, give me that. Or I want to post that into you. So the servers, upon connecting to it, start working, start analyzing the request, the parameters, and get the user what he wants if everything is alright. The server has one psychology, it is designed that way. He is giving the user everything he wants if the user passes the checks. The checks can be password, can be authentication token, can be cookie, can be specific user agent. So if these checks are passed, the server is giving the user anything the user needs. So this is the basic fundamental idea of hacking, because it's close to mind to say and think that if you manage to bypass some security mechanism and checks, the server has nothing to do but give us what we want. The machines are following instructions, they are designed that way. If we bypass security checks, the server will guarantee give us what we want. Of course, this is not an easy job, security checks are made great, and that's because a lot of people good with security standing behind them, and it's developing a lot of time under that job. So guys, these are the fundamental things about the web server. We've installed Burp on Windows, and I told you what's a request, what's HTTP code, what's HTTP method, how it works, where the burp and how the burp is working. So you see we have like a proxy. And so the next video we're gonna go in details about the burp, how it works and how you can use it for bug bounty hunting. So thank you for watching. I'm gonna see you in the next video, guys.